Next up in my Great Director series, it's a great American artist, Alexander Payne, a director of 7 feature films so far as of 2023. A great satirist, a great humanist, one of my favorite directors for his complexity of his work, his great direction, great casting, all kinds of great script writing, all kinds of great stuff. That's the word I'm going to use for him, is great. I like Payne because he's doing something very difficult to do in artwork, particularly in movies. He's blending satire and felt human drama. He's right on the razor's edge almost always of satire and sentiment. You can see his movies either way as mocking the characters and their situations and their conundrums, or sympathizing with them, empathizing with them, and I always come away feeling both. I want to talk in this video a little bit about Payne as an auteur. There are patterns that show up in his filmmaking, and then I'm going to rank the movies and offer some advice for how to watch them and what to watch. First things first is Payne is from Omaha, Nebraska, and he shows that in a lot of his movies. Now, I'm not too far from there. I kind of like this place, the Great Plains, and Payne is always doing the right thing with it. He's honoring it and making fun of it at the same time, and he never exaggerates. He always shows the real world. He goes into real restaurants, real places, real TV programs. If you were to live in the Great Plains, you would feel that he is not making up anything you see. In fact, it could be photorealistic, documentary style. Although to me, as a classical Hollywood filmmaker, some of his movies, maybe all of them would fit in well if changed a little bit in the 1930s or 40s. But Nebraska shows up a lot in his movies, including the movie Nebraska, and that's my favorite movie from him, starring Will Forte and Bruce Dern, about two men, a father and a son, going on a road journey across the Great Plains to Lincoln, Nebraska, where the old man thinks he's going to find $1 million. Check out my video on that.
Don't be a moron.
That's one of his auteur choices, and I read interviews, and he didn't intend to do this, but he's made a bunch of buddy road trip movies, beginning with About Schmidt, which is not really a buddy road trip, it's a single-man road trip, mostly. But About Schmidt, and then the acclaimed Sideways, which got an Academy Award nomination for Best Picture when it came out in 2004. Downsizing is a road movie, and of course Nebraska, so the buddy road trip or the road trip movie is going to be one of those common choices, common ideas you'll see in his movies. Another, as I said, is satire. He's really good at satire, like Swiftian satire, which mocks the characters, really character types, these sort of schlubby white male American types of the Midwest in particular, which I usually a lot of Hollywood movies, I find they're condescending or making fun in a really negative or mean sense of these kinds of characters, which I usually am taken aback by, because I am one in a way. But I think, as I said, Payne is realistic, and he kind of loves these characters and places, even though he's mocking them at the same time. I think that's true of About Schmidt in particular, a great movie starring Jack Nicholson, a just retired man, insurance company salesman, and Omaha, and then he can't figure out what to do with his life because he never knew anything besides his workplace, and here he is in his mid to late 60s. He's got nothing else to do, and that's a typical problem in these Alexander Payne movies, these sort of middle-aged men conundrums. What is my future? What am I going to do with my future? I have no future. I've never done really anything with my life. It's not even midlife crisis, really. It's a crisis of philosophy. I don't know why I'm living or what I'm living for. And I think it's never explicit in that sense, like, oh, you need to read philosophy or something like that, or get religion in a Payne movie, but it's sitting there throughout most of them, including About Schmidt, which you should definitely check out. Now, Payne is partnered up with Jim Taylor to write scripts. He's written scripts for most of his movies, so this combo of Payne and Taylor is a great combo. They take standard 3-act plots, so the buddy road trip would be one, and then they vary it, and then actually introduce a lot of quirks and weird new wrinkles to those 3-act plots. That's something you should look at if you're a scriptwriter yourself, how they vary the formula. And one thing that comes up very strongly in these scripts are morals and ethics. In fact, in the movie Election, character even asks out loud, what's the difference between morals and ethics?
So is this a moral situation or an ethical situation? What's the difference between morals and ethics anyway?
Yeah, ethics is like when you do what society tells you is right to do.
And morals,
But the ethical conundrum or the moral choice, that's at the heart of these movies for these middle-aged white guys in particular who seem to star mostly in these movies or be the main factor in these movies. And they have to make hard, even ridiculous choices. They have to really help people, love them, but they don't want to do it. They want to do something that benefits them. And there's a lot of basic moral choices that I think Payne brings up. And a lot of these characters end up having trouble with lying, being delusional, cheating, stealing, being cuckolded, or committing adultery, either one. And these really basic things that come up. And the way he deals with those moral problems I really love. You should check out all of his movies for those things. Throughout all of his filmography, he's casted against type. So Jack Nicholson would be a great example. That classic Jack Nicholson grin is never cracked one time in About Schmidt. You know, this is not the insane or crazy or over the top or bombastic Jack Nicholson. And you can see how Nicholson's a great actor in this. He's really into his character here. It's the same with Matthew Broderick in Election, a movie where the guy is a high school science or political science teacher. And clearly the idea is to tweak something like Ferris Bueller on his beloved movie. So you have the same actor playing Ferris Bueller, a high school hotshot who can do anything he wants, now as the science teacher and is having trouble with this really stupid election. A veiled commentary on democracy and politics in general, as well as American politics in particular. Will Forte was probably the best casting of all. Never would have expected him to be great in Nebraska because he's never had really done anything up to that point. He is pitch perfect, and once again, he's not over the top funny or weird or quirky as he was on Saturday Night Live. Here in Nebraska, he's the straight man playing a really sad sack son who's trying to help his father out but has a lot of problems and doesn't know where to go or what to do with his own life. Another thing that comes up are the people within the landscapes. Hawaii and the Descendants, California and Sideways, Nebraska several times. We get the American aesthetics of Payne, who at once is looking at landscapes as beautiful, even utopian, starkly beautiful in Nebraska, which changes the color photography to black and white. But in contrast to that are the interiors, the architecture, and the interior design of people who have made some pretty ugly choices, especially with restaurants. Payne just loves to show us bad restaurants and characters within those, and then they have to make these tough moral decisions, and we have to empathize with them even though they're in these really bad, ugly, aesthetic places. And by the way, again, I live in the Great Plains and I see a lot of ugliness. This is all true. The ugly American aesthetics are everywhere, especially interior design, and then part of that interior design element is television dominating people's ideas, dominating their lives. There's a lot of moments in a lot of these movies where characters are staring at the TV and the TV is just mainly dumb or silly, and that's shaping their world, and it's their backdrop and background to their lives. Another signal that when he's satirizing American culture, whatever in particular is happening in the movies. And two, he's showing us that these characters don't know what to do with their lives. They have no future. They have little to look forward to, so looking forward to TV. And the TV is almost always mundane, as you can see in this wonderful scene in Nebraska, where a bunch of relatives who haven't seen each other for decades show up, and all they can do is stare at the television. The thing that shows up in all of his movies is sad sacks in American culture, these poor down and out types who feel sorry for themselves or really are poor and down and out, and they don't know what to do with themselves. And they are embodying probably Henry David Thoreau's famous statement about the mass of men living lives of quiet desperation. I think pretty much all of these characters, nearly all of them in every single movie, the main ones at least, are those desperate men, those sad sack men who privately suffer. Publicly, they put on the nice guy Midwestern veneer. They want to seem nice and appropriate in public, but then the private self is different from that. Also, their delusions are different from that, and you get to see those and get to see how we should make fun of them and feel sorry for them at the same time, given all of these things, and especially their delusions and their lies to themselves. But then, as I said, Payne's a humanist, by which I mean he finds every character, including the little characters, the minor characters, have complex emotions and are complex people on the interior. They're not just these goofy, poor, middle class, working class types, and you should just typecast them all. No, they're each interesting individuals, complex individuals, and each of the movies that he makes fleshes that out. So I see Payne as a modern-day humanist in that sense. Now, let me do something with his filmography. He's only got 7 feature films so far as of 2023, but I see 3 different trilogies. So I'm going to make these up. I'm wholly making these up, but I think these are 3 different trilogies that you might want to pursue one or more of these if they're to your tastes. First trilogy I'm going to dub the Omaha Schlub Trilogy. All of these characters are literally from Omaha, Nebraska. They're all schlubs, sad sacks, as I've said. And About Schmidt and Election, 2 movies made basically close to the same time, really are about these kinds of characters, and they lean more towards satirizing or mocking this type. Then the most recent movie he made 6 years ago, Downsizing, starring Matt Damon, with the science fictional concept of a man literally downsizing himself so he can afford to live by becoming small. And that too is about a man from Omaha who doesn't know why he's living or what he's living for, the lives of quiet desperation, as it were. He's got another trilogy, and that's his first 3 feature films, the Biting Satire trilogy, which are more Swiftian satire to me, Jonathan Swift of Swiftian satire. And these are, with the razor's edge thing between satire and sentiment, they're more towards satire. They're more towards mocking the characters. Citizen Ruth, a really interesting movie about abortion, among other things. How can you make a humorous movie about abortion? You can't. But he did, and that's Citizen Ruth. I'm sure you'll laugh at it, but it's a really interesting movie. And then the high school election movie called Election, now in the Criterion Collection, more and more it grows on me. It's a great movie in a lot of ways. You have to watch it in the right ways, but man, it really hits home to me in so many ways now as a middle-aged dude. So Citizen Ruth, Election, and About Schmidt, that's his Biting Satire trilogy. Last, a more recent trilogy, and one I probably would recommend to most people. I think this is the place to start for most ordinary movie watchers who are looking to be entertained, to see great big stars, and to feel certain things that are pretty obvious that you should feel them. This is the Landscape and Life's Pain trilogy. I'm not sure what else to call it, but a lot of life's pain in a landscape that's beautiful, haunting, and so on. Those 3 movies all made in the row are Sideways, The Descendants, and Nebraska. You're going to get California, Hawaii, and Nebraska. 3 different views of America, or different parts of America. All wonderfully made, all wonderfully shot, wonderfully acted. Everything else. The scripts are great. I love the way they make me feel, I love them make me think, and so on. And so I recommend these 3 movies pretty strongly. I'd like to pay Payne a high compliment, but not many people will get this reference, although I made a video of this director. He is the Hal Ashby of our time. And Hal Ashby was a fantastic movie maker in the 1970s, doing exactly what I said, satire and sentiment blended together, a perfect blend of tones, which is nearly impossible. Very few filmmakers or writers or artists have been able to pull it off. Payne has, and so I think he's Hal Ashby today. Therefore, let me rank his movies. I think if you're going to watch a movie by him, you either need to watch Nebraska, which is a wonderful, beautiful movie in my opinion, although I'm probably too close to the action. I don't live too far from where this movie was filmed, but I just love this movie. I've seen it 10, maybe 15 times, and it's great every single time I teach the movie, and I think most people would appreciate it or like it. The other movie I recommend, and I do this because I think it's philosophically excellent, along the lines of Groundhog Day, but it doesn't have the fantasy element of it, yet it has some of the tones and vibes, is About Schmidt, with Jack Nicholson playing a newly retired man who's getting a new life for a lot of various reasons, but doesn't know what to do with it, has no clue what life's about. It's a wonderful road trip movie with a star who's different here than he is anywhere else in any part of his career. The other 5 movies, it's kind of up to you. There's a lot of, I think all 5 of them are very good at different times when I watch them. I wouldn't like them every single time I watch them, but if I watch them 5 times, I'd probably like them 3 of those times. Election, Citizen Ruth, Sideways, The Descendants, and Downsizing. The Descendants is going to be a sad movie, featuring a woman who's dying the entire time, and all the characters are reacting to it. She's in a coma. She never speaks in the movie, and so you feel the overwhelming burden of pain and grief set amidst this beautiful Hawaiian setting. But that's a real hard movie. Downsizing is his science fiction movie that got panned. I thought it was better than most people did, but it does have a lot of strange elements to it that may be off-putting for an audience, especially the weird science fictional concept in it. That leaves Election for those who want to laugh and mock things, or Sideways for those who want sort of fun, goofy humor in it and a nice little jaunt. And then Citizen Ruth, what do you do with that sort of bizarre satire of abortion politics in America? If that's a topic that interests you, you should watch that movie, his first feature. What do you think of Alexander Payne, his direction? I even talked about his direction, his shot making and so on, but I think it's really top notch. It's really well done. It's really classical. And again, it fit right into the 40s or this 1970s. He could be in any era, but he's been here the last 20, 25 years, which is a good thing for us as he's still a contemporary movie maker. Let us know in the comments what you think about this, and please subscribe to the channel for more great content. Thank you. Have a great day.